Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to Samuel Adams Returns. Those anti-federalists, they did. They absolutely got it right. And this is Tom Navulis, your host, and I am so delighted that you are back with me again this week. We are doing another interesting show. We're going to do a couple of different things. First off, what I want to talk about in the first and third segments is all that we're seeing in Christian persecution and Christian persecution here in the United States, and especially Christian persecution of other Christians by Christians. Oh, isn't that very interesting? Christian persecution by other Christians. And we're going to talk about that. And I think it's going to be interesting as I try and cover that. Also, in the first and third segment that ties into that is my real war wagon right now, where I have taken in, raised the flag of the red flag, DEFCON 4. No, I think that's DEFCON 1. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. We are at total 100% absolute war, and every person should be aware of social emotional learning. Now, I've covered that several different times, and I even wrote an article that is in the Capitol Hill Outsider, and I put the link in last week. I'm going to put the link in again this week. But I'm going to take you to some of the very interesting aspects of social emotional learning's roots right there for those of you that may wear tinfoil hats, which I really don't think you do, because it centers in New York City. Yeah, just like that salsa commercial. You know, New York City. They're on the island of Manhattan. It's kind of an interesting building with all these flags out front. Yep, it's the UN, and I am going to read right from the documents of the UN, UNESCO, that which when you look at, and we're not going to cover it totally today, but that when you look at social emotional learning, man, they cut and pasted what social emotional learning is all about right out of the UNESCO documents. For those of you who are listening on Liberty Works Radio Network and also at 101.1 FM there in Lima, Ohio, you cannot see my expressions. You cannot see my hands drawing across different things. So if you want to really get the visual entertainment of the whole thing, what you need to do is you need to go to samueladamsreturns.net. And there you'll find the archives of the programs where the podcasts are there, as well as, yes, the video presentation. And then we're going to be doing something kind of interesting in the second segment. I'm going to see, even in this segment, maybe, but in the second segment for sure, if I can make technology work. And I'm trying and experimenting how I can video pieces of the programming and clip it into what is going to happen here, especially in the video presentation. There'll be audio pieces of it. We're going to be talking about something that I am highly involved in called Eagle Fire with Eagle Fire Nation, which is the premier and the only federated social media and platform there for all of us, that as we talk about the Google Schmoogles, Facebooks, and other stuff, we're going to be able to see that, yep, you need some place that we're going to be able to go, because even Parlay just got kicked off of stuff, okay, from their hosting. They're in trouble because they violated something. So, you know, here it is that a social media Me Too company that's out there, they just got trashed again. And You've seen all the stuff where the Veritas, video was taken down by YouTube, which is owned by, a larger company, Google, which is owned by Alphabet, and you're seeing all of the other stuff that's going on out there with all of these, as I always call them, the techno oligarchs. So as we make our way through, we'll weave through on different things, but I am going to give you a video introduction to what is going on with Eagle Fire in itself, not just Eagle Fire Nation, which once again is that place that you can go and replace Twitter and Facebook with, as well as it'll touch on a little bit more about the Eagle Fire Cloud, which actually replaces what's going on with Google and all of the underlying aspects of the Google apps when people want to share and do all of that type of stuff. So anyway, I think we have a lot to cover, and I'm telling you, that was a long 5-minute intro. So let me start with the issue of Christians eating Christians. And it's no different than so-called conservatives eating conservatives. One of the things that I have been speaking on for, I don't know, Kath, almost 30 years, is that we have no coalescing environment within the patriot conservative, if you will, if you want to use the term conservative. I would rather use as an American citizen. We have no, and I mean a patriotic, constitutional citizen. And as a constitutional citizen, that means you are educated to understand what all the fundamentals are that were given to us in a foundational basis. So I'm going to kind of cover some of that, and we'll do some kind of clip things in that. But first off, I want to talk to you about, I'm not going to jump into it, and let's see if I have it readily available, is that interesting article that I found this morning with the fact that just a guy that's willing to step out there and say the right things. And that's none other than Franklin Graham. And Franklin Graham made a comment relative to the insanities that some of the so-called theologians are out there and yapping about. They're out there and taking in, trying to say that, the worst thing that Donald Trump has ever been doing is taking in, all of these kids and these detention camps or concentration camps, and, they're worse than anything else that's out there, and so on and so forth. And we just keep hearing a lot of that nonsense. And I think Donald Trump, rightfully so, he brought out that that all started under the who administration? The Obama administration. And he was there taking in, they were already utilizing the different facilities available that are owned by the federal government so that you could take and retain what? Illegals. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is where the majority of all of those various pastors, theologians, brainiacs, intelligentsia in Christianity are stupid, ignorant, uneducated, refusing to learn our history. As I always say, and I will continue to say, if they had any desire, any inkling to know anything about the foundational truths of our nation, they would take and at least go read what? The chaplains and clergy of the Revolution. There's the disconnect. They can't even read that. And, how frustrating is that, these people just will not take and go and understand truth. They won't go and understand those fundamentals of our history. Anyway, as I'm scrolling through, and those who are watching me looking, I didn't have that one pulled up on my phone, so I apologize for that. But the point of it is that here you have all of these theologians, and there were thousands of people attacking Franklin Graham for actually speaking the truth. There you go. Those that don't know attack those that do know. So those that don't know, they just, continue on with their folly. So let's see if I can take and do a little bit here, because I'm down to about this 4-minute mark that Kath's indicating to me. And just what I want to do real quick is I want to talk to you a little bit more about what's going on with UNESCO. And I have to tell you that the whole thing with UNESCO is very, very interesting. And man, it's just totally crazy in what we have going on. So I'm bringing up, and I'm hoping this is working, this whole thing on UNESCO right here, and in its Sustainable Development Goal 4 and its targets. And there are 10 targets encompassing many different aspects of education, as you see right here. There are 7 targets which are expected outcomes, and 3 targets which are means of achieving these targets. And I'll tell you what, if you go in and you look at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, it's crazy. So if you go to the 7 outcomes, universal primary and secondary education, by 2030, ensure that all girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary educating, leading to relevant and effective learning outcomes. That's language in, I think, that Goals 2000. That's language in Common Core. It's language in SEL. Early childhood development and universal pre-primary education. Ensure that girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development care and pre-primary education so that they are ready for primary education. SEL is reaching all the way down into preschool. Relevant skills for decent work. That is SEL, 100%. Then you go gender equality and inclusion. That's where everybody has to be tolerant of everything. That's where this is coming from, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's happening. And I cannot believe that Betsy DeVos actually grabbed all of that back when Donald Trump took us out of UNESCO. And she went and she signed more of this evil insanity of globalism taking us to slavery. Look, this isn't tinfoil hat stuff. It's right here in the document. It's right here in everything that we are looking at. Gender equality. 4.6, universal youth literacy. Well, as I've said before, is that at our founders' time, the ability to read was within over 90%, if not 95% of the population. And that's because they all read the Bible at home, and they learned how to read that first. And 4.7, education for a sustainable development and global citizenship. Hey, that's what they want, And then it goes into the 3 means of implementation. Effective learning environments, what does that mean? That is absolutely what's going on. Scholarships and teachers and educators. Well, here we have it. That's interesting what's going on into the public school system, and in many Christian schools, many Christian colleges are all part of this direction. All part of this evil. I think that my friend Dr. Spalding said it well on his program, or actually he said it in his message on a Sunday, that this is evil. Sam Adams talked about it, and I have for you the proper forms of education when he comes back, because those anti-federalists, they got it right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again to this second segment of Samuel Adams Returns. Those anti-federalists, they absolutely did. They got it right. And as always in this segment, I love to take and promote Liberty Works Radio Network, LWRN.net is how I usually identify them. And they are doing fabulous work, as I tell you every week. So I do hope that you are checking out all of those other hosts and hostesses, the live programming during the week, and even all of the other programming here on the weekends. So I'm here on the 2 different time slots at 9 o'clock in the morning as well as 7 p.m. at night. I am also at 8 p.m. on Saturdays with Dr. Mike Spalding's program at WTTP, which is 101.1 FM in Lima, Ohio. So I would encourage you to take and listen there if you're in that section of Ohio. And again, listen to Liberty Works Radio Network. That's a great place to get a lot of really great information. Well, yeah. This is Tom Navolis, your host, and I really need you to do a couple things as well. I always promote everyone else, and as last week I started saying, you know what, I need to promote what we're doing with Samuel Adams Returns. Samuel Adams Returns is provided to you basically by NCDCS, which is both my consulting firm and what I have termed as the National Center for the Development of Constitutional Strategies. We haven't had a lot of time to do much with that, and I'll get into the reason here shortly. But one of the things that you can do is, if you are looking at the video, you can look behind my right shoulder up there on the bookshelf and go to SamuelAdamsReturns.net, and right there at the front end, you can order both of my books, one of them being Not All Conservatives Are Constitutionalists. I basically started the program with that I don't care what you call them, you can be a constitutionalist, but a conservative, so-called whatever that is, but if you are not constitutionally sound and you don't understand the foundations and fundamentals of this nation, you don't get it. You don't understand it. So, very, very interesting. Now, the other aspect and the other book is the seminar that I do, From Covenant to the Present Constitution. Very few people teach or talk about covenant. Yet, those were in our founding documents. In fact, if we take and we look at, and I am going to bring up here real quick, I don't know that you'll see it, but if we take and we go look at the Massachusetts Constitution, it talks about that the body politic is formed by a voluntary association of individuals. It is a social compact by which the whole people covenants with each citizen, and each citizen with the whole people, that all shall be governed by certain laws for the common good. Now, I know that in reading and studying not only Madison's notes, but also the letters from Jerry, also the letters from the others that attended the convention from Massachusetts and the other states, that it's not just a compact. There's many lawyers that will talk, it's a compact this and a compact that. No. If you go back and you start looking at all of the other foundational documents, it comes exactly from how the founders viewed the relationship with the king and each one of the charters that were given as a covenantal relationship. And that covenantal relationship is the core, is the very essence of God's relationship with man. I mean, he talks about it right from the beginning of the Bible, and he makes that covenant as we go through with Abram, then Abraham, all the way through, and Moses. He covenants with Moses not only as a people of Israel, but as well as personal covenanting with Moses. This is true throughout the scriptures. And Jesus did the same. It's the new covenant. Jesus speaks of that. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. One of the other things that I wanted to bring out, and it's not a thing, it's the truth. The truth about the body politic is formed, as I said, as that voluntary association. But within Massachusetts, some of the things that they really rammed home were that all men are born free and equal, have certain natural, essential, and unalienable rights, among which be reckoned the right of enjoying and defending their lives and liberties. Defending their lives and liberty, that of acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, in fine, that of seeking and obtaining their safety and happiness. Wow, that sounds like a lot of good reasons to be able to protect yourself. So here's the other one that Massachusetts had in their original constitution and has been subverted and perverted in Massachusetts in particular. And you have to remember that Sam Adams wrote about a third of this constitution, okay? And John Adams participated as well as a couple others, but Sam Adams wrote a third. So listen to these words, which I would think are Sam Adams' words. It is the right as well as the duty of all men in society, publicly and at stated seasons, to worship the Supreme Being, the great creator and preserver of the universe. And no subject shall be hurt, molested, or restrained in his person, liberty, or estate, for worshiping God in the manner and season most agreeable to the dictates of his own conscience, and for his religious profession or sentiments, provided he doth not disturb the public peace or obstruct others in their religious worship. Wow. Section 3, as the happiness of the people and the good order and preservation of civil government essentially, and there was a comma after government, essentially depend upon piety, religion, and morality, as these cannot be generally diffused through a community, but by the institution of the public worship of God and of public instruction in piety, religion, and morality. Therefore, to promote the happiness and to secure the good order and preservation of their government, the people of this commonwealth have a right to invest their legislature with the power to authorize and require the legislature shall, from time to time, authorize and require the several towns, parishes, precincts, and other bodies, politic or religious societies to make suitable provisions at their own expense for the institution of public worship of God, and for the support and maintenance of public Protestant teachers of piety, religion, and morality in all cases where such provision shall not be made voluntarily. Okay, I just wiped out everything to do. I'm sorry, Massachusetts has gone to the pits of hell and has absolutely destroyed all that is relative. Kath, we at that, what? Oh my. We're going to have to talk about Eagle Fire in this third segment, because I think the video is about a 10-minute video that I want to share with you. So that's fine. We'll do that there. But what is very, very critical is that then when you take and you look at the other founding documents, and you look at what is intent, and what is it that was meaningful, and again, which is in the article that I put from a historical value perspective on SEL, in that my first opportunity to be published in the Capitol Hill Outsider, I give that historical perspective of what happened because of the humanism that came in, because the churches did not remember what was being talked about here and in the other colonies turned states, that for the happiness of the people and good order and preservation of civil government essentially depend upon piety, religion, morality. And as these cannot be generally diffused through a community, but by the institution of the public worship of God and of public instructions in piety, religion, and morality. Come on, folks. Now, what we have is public instruction into the perversions of transgender, and asking a kid through SEL for tolerance sake, oh, what bathroom are you going to use? What is your pronoun? Oh, and in certain states, and in Canada, and in the UK, if somebody claims a certain pronoun and you do not call them by that pronoun, you can go to jail. I mean, wait a minute. I'm looking at a foundational document. And Massachusetts is worse. They have forgotten. And you know why they've forgotten? Because their pulpits have forgotten. The pulpits do not understand these truths, nor do they preach them. So it's not just that you have conservatives out there beating up on one another. And man, I can tell stories on that where they don't even want to work together. Everybody that thinks they're somebody, and there's a lot of somebodies out there, which we won't get into that discussion. But the point of it is that there's so many people out there that there's no coalescence. Okay, there's no patriotic coalescence. And until we come under that authority of this understanding of the living God and call upon Him for what we need as a nation, repent of our sins, and understand these fundamental truths as they did from biblical Reformation, and I will say, Calvinistic Puritan perspectives, my goodness gracious, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it. And we have in so many ways, because we've lost it in the educational system, SEL, UNESCO, and everything else. We've lost it in the political environment because we have not raised up a moral and virtuous piety person to go into office and stand on those fundamental principles of truth. And instead, what we have is these theologians that then take and beat up on a guy that gets it. There it is. Franklin Graham understands what is happening with illegals. Illegals. These people are only migrants by virtue of, again, the UN documents on migration that even UNESCO talks about. So that's the only reason that the term a migrant is used. Other than that, you cross over into the Venezuelan border, if you don't get shot, you're going to jail, baby. You are. Oh yeah. So when we look at these truths, we have to go back, and I'm telling you, pastors, elders, deacons, just go read some of these founding documents. And you have no argument to say, no, we can't talk about that in church or from the pulpit, or we can't have Tom Navulis come in and teach anything about covenant to the present Constitution because, we got to keep that, we just got to teach the Bible. And that's it. Well, that's not teaching the Bible if you're excluding everything else. You do that, you're violating every trust that God has given you to teach what is right. I don't care who you are. So anyway, we're going to come back into the third segment, and that's where we're going to end up talking about Eagle Fire, and I'm going to jump right into it when Sam Adams come back, because the Anti-Federalists got it right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this third segment of Samuel Adams Returns. Those Anti-Federalists, they absolutely got it right. You know, in the last segment, I couldn't get to Eagle Fire, so here in this segment, folks, we're going to go ahead and talk about it a little bit more. It's HeroScout.com. It's something that I've talked to you about in the past, and what it is the solution to the Veritas video. It is the solution to everything else that you are hearing out there on the mainstream media about the techno-oligarchs. It's the place to go, the platform to go for you to transition your Facebook and Twitter and whatever social media account you have with those evil oligarchs. Okay? And guess what? I'm not going to get into the details of it. What I'm going to do here is that one of the entities that has made a 100% transition over to what we're doing is ACT Cleveland. ACT Cleveland is part of ACT for America. They have over 3,000 users across the United States, or I should say people that are involved across the United States that is dealing with our liberties and that. So this has some specific talking points and slides relative to who ACT Cleveland is, and then it gets right into the meat about what is Eagle Fire. So ladies and gentlemen, here we go, and I hope you take and appreciate and enjoy.
Hello, everyone. This is Dan Ramada from ACT for America Cleveland chapter. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Scott Andrews. Scott was at our meeting on Monday night and explained to our room and our online audience about our new way of disseminating information to everyone that's going to hopefully make it so much easier and will prevent any censorship by the tech giants. That's what we're working towards. So, Scott, say hello to our group.
Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring up our PowerPoint, and we're going to work off of this for this afternoon, I should say. We are the Cleveland chapter of ACT for America, and our mission is to expose the red-green axis, the communists, the socialists, the Marxists, technocrats, and Islamic Jihad, and how they are all working together to subvert our republic. One of the main ways they're doing this is through censorship, Silicon Valley censorship, all the tech giants. So Scott's going to explain how we're going to get around these people and continue to get the information to all of our fellow patriots.
Yes, hello, everyone. Again, thank you to everyone who came on the evening. We had a great presentations and meeting new friends. Folks, I'm here to tell you about Eagle Fire. And we've created this to help you stop the censorship, the fake news, and a whole lot of other things, and teaming up with ACT Cleveland to make sure you get the truth of what's going on. So what we're going to talk about really briefly today is really what's happening with these big tech giants, and how are they, more importantly, how are they paying their bills, their revenues? What's going on with that? And if we look back to when Cambridge Analytica broke loose, there was a Senate hearing. And Mr. Zuckerberg was asked a very pointed question: how do you sustain a business model where users don't pay for your service? And his answer was, Senator, we run ads. Now, many of you are very familiar with this. You know the ads are paying for your free accounts online, your free Facebook, your free YouTube, your free everything. But we're finding some very interesting data about this particular business model. Censorship, fake news, and we've got something else going on. Take a look at this. You'll see in a typical week, I will have over 150,000 ads, blogs, and other things. But we stumbled upon other information, and that is the flourishing business of fake YouTube views. This was an article made by the New York Times, and we found many other articles about the other companies, Facebook, etc., Twitter, Pinterest, others. This article pointed out that plays of YouTube videos can be bought for pennies and delivered in bulk, inflating the video's popularity and making the social media giant vulnerable to manipulation. When you view a YouTube video, you'll notice all the views below it. 58,000, 1 million, 5 million, whatever it might be, they're uncovering there's a lot of fake going on. And this is where it all leads to. One example that this article found was a business that sells fake accounts to advertisers. And according to this company's records, it collected more than $1.2 million in revenue over 3 years by selling 196 million YouTube views. And nearly all of those views remain there today. Folks, the same thing is happening on Facebook and Facebook views. And the advertisers are getting taken to the cleaners as these big companies collect all that advertising revenue. What does that mean? Fake revenues. Well, we decided to do something about this, and we've created Eagle Fire. We're a company in Ohio, and we're creating a place for you to not just get a new social media experience, but really to replace everything you do online, where you own and control all the data, and you have full ownership and property rights over that information. You get online liberty. You can launch your own independent social network experience if you want to. Private messaging, store your videos and your photos from your smartphone, and a whole host of other things. But for today, we're going to talk about the social media experience. And that is on eaglefirenation.com. You can log on to eaglefirenation.com and get a free account today. So we're going to walk through this very briefly. There is, you'll see on the screen now, Eagle Fire Nation. On the left-hand side, you can choose a username, give us your email address, make a password, and tell us why you want to join our network and how you would like to get your online independence back. That's why we're here. We're here to help you get your online independence.
A simple thing to do is just put in there, you want to stay connected with ACT Cleveland.
Yep. Once you log in, we'll look through your application here. You agree to our rules and terms of service. You will see an email stating your account has been approved. You can then go up to the login section there on the right-hand side, use your email address, the password, and log into your account. And here's what it's going to look like. Here you'll see we're in ACT Cleveland's excuse me, account. And on the left-hand side is where you would be able to post a message, upload a video, upload a photo if you want, multiple photos if you want, just like you want on Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or other social media accounts. The next pane, you'll see this is your home timeline. All the people who follow you and what they decide to put out there about their vacations or information from ACT Cleveland here, for example, will show up. In the middle section are notifications. This is people who have followed you and such, who have mentioned you in their comments or what have you. And then on the right-hand side, if we click that top back button, you'll see here you can now view your direct messages, just like a Facebook Messenger. And you click and see your local timeline, but we also have what's called a federated timeline. If we click on that, there we see all the different networks under Eagle Fire Nation connected together into one timeline. You see, Eagle Fire Nation is not one centralized experience like a Facebook or like a Pinterest or other social media. This is little social networks all under one timeline with their own independent experience and their own moderation and rules. We pull them together for you. When it comes to at Cleveland, you'll be able now to get all their information here, as well as some other places. Dan, why don't you tell us more about that?
Okay, so you'll notice here, one of the posts that we put on here about a half hour ago, was a link, and this will always be pinned to the top. And people have asked, well, what happened to your website? Where can we find your previous meetings? So let's try that. Let's click on this. And it opens up to a page. And notice that now up in the web browser, it's called @cleveland.eaglefire.cloud. So not Eagle Fire Nation, that would be the social network, Eagle Fire Cloud. This replaces our website. And here is a chronological list of all of our meetings dating all the way back from June of 2017. Now, the simple way to do it is when you first log on, there's a little arrow right here at the top next to name. Just click on that arrow, it reverses the order, and you'll find at the very top will always be what our next meeting or webinar is in this particular case. Next ACT webinar, July 22nd with Trevor Loudon and E.W. Jackson. If you were to click on there, next week I'll put in the email invitation announcement, but here are the promotional videos. Here's a promotional video from Trevor Loudon.
Hi, welcome. This is Trevor Loudon here from Stand Against Communism. I'm looking forward to the seminar we have planned on July 22nd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Bishop E.W. Jackson and I will be talking about the Marxist and communist infiltration of the United States and what we're going to do about it. Now,
Okay, so that's a preview. Many of you know Trevor. He was in Ohio last year in 4 different cities. We brought him through Cleveland, Mansfield, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Actually, I believe it's in northern Kentucky, but the case that's beside the point. He will be back with us online July 22nd with Bishop E.W. Jackson. You can click on that little section there to watch those videos. And the video, it's PDF format. Alex gave us a wonderful presentation on Monday night. Colonel David Boris, as you can see, go all the way down. Okay, and I'm sure you will. And it's quite all right. Please contact me at Hobbits back in March, Patrick Wood, as you can see, go all the way down. So for those of you wondering, well, what happened to our website, this replaces it. If you have questions about any of this, okay, and I'm sure you will, and it's quite all right, please contact me at info@actcleveland.org, info@actcleveland.org. Do yourself a favor, get off of Gmail, and join us on Eagle Fire Nation. Thanks. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that I had to cut a little bit in there because we're running out of time. But what's very important is that here's an opportunity, and as Dan and Scott were explaining, is that Eagle Fire is a solution. It's a platform. And no different than our independent colonies turned states did something very unique in all of history, is that they federated. It's a federation. It's not some kind of a giant conglomerate environment that's centralized. No, this is you being that, like a state, like Massachusetts, like New Jersey, like whichever state you choose to identify with, and you are coming together and federating, no different than the Articles of Confederation, which I have a lot of like for, as many of you know. So you come and you confederate with the others, as you saw there in the example in the video. The link is there for you, at samueladamsreturns.net in the archive for the program. Go there, rewatch the video directly so that you can, if you had a little misunderstanding or couldn't quite hear what was going on, I suggest you do that. But ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're influencers, if you're teachers, if you're those that have other large followings on your networks, I suggest you move over to eaglefirenation.com, where that platform is the platform of true liberty for patriots as well as others that want to get off of Facebook and other places and become digitally free. See you next week.